Kyle Crosby with Louisiana Dread here, and this is part 2 of our epic Axeman series. If you missed the first part, check in the description below or just click right here. People would call the police to report a suspicious character walking through the neighborhoods. Sicilian and Italian families would sleep in shifts to protect themselves, and people began to carry loaded shotguns. Panic seemed at an all-time high in New Orleans, but months would go by without an incident. As the months went by, no new Axeman murders occurred, so people let their guard down slowly until March 10th, 1919. Charles and Rosie Cortimiglia were Italian grocers that lived in an apartment above their Gretna grocery store with their 2-year-old daughter, Mary. Rosie woke up and found her husband fighting with a large axe-wielding man. As her husband fell to the ground in a pool of his own blood, Rosie grabbed Mary and begged to be spared. This would be in vain, as the Axeman swung his axe at them both. Their neighbor, Lorando Giordano, found them after hearing a commotion. So he rushes over and sees that Rosie is severely injured in the doorway, still clutching her now deceased daughter. Both Charles and Rosie survived the attack, but when Rosie regained consciousness is when things took an unexpected turn. The Jefferson Parish sheriff at the time was Louis Marrero, who was known for his intolerance to the mafia and really Sicilian and Italian immigrants. He was utterly convinced these Axeman murders were nothing more than the mafia trying to strangle the town and take it over completely. It just so happened that the Cortimiglia's neighbor, Lorando Giordano, and his son, Frank, were in one of those families, all too familiar with organized crime. The problem was that there was zero evidence to pin on the Giordanos. Lorando was elderly and in poor health, while Frank was too large to have been able to fit through the panel out in the back door. Marrero and his team would interrogate Rosie extensively while she was in Charity Hospital. When she was well enough to be released, Marrero immediately arrested Rosie as a material witness and incarcerated her in the Gretna jail. She was released only after she signed an affidavit implicating her neighbors, so she did. Rosie stated that it was indeed the Giordanos that attacked her and Charles, and they were promptly arrested. Charles, however, denied his wife's accusations and vehemently denied the Giordanos of any wrongdoing. The father and son were still charged and found guilty of murder, with Lorando getting a life sentence and his son Frank set to hang for the crimes they did not commit. After the intense trial, Marrero felt accomplished, with the Giordanos behind bars and one getting the death penalty. Charles subsequently divorced his wife Rosie, but about a year after the trial, Rosie would go to the Times-Picayune newsroom and declare that she had falsely accused the two men. She said that she felt incredible pressure from Marrero and his team, which was a direct cause of her false accusation. She was even tried for perjury, but the damage to Marrero's reputation was done. Marrero was ousted from office not long after this, and since Rosie's testimony was the only evidence against the Giordanos, they were released from jail. After this entire fiasco, the city realized that the culprit wasn't caught, and fear began to spread around the city again. The Axeman was back. Now, the police said that they believed all 4 murders were committed by the same man, and that people began to arm themselves. But this is where things get crazy. On March 14, 1919, the Times-Picayune received an anonymous letter that seemed to taunt and promise another attack. I will now read the infamous letter that is believed to have been written by the actual Axeman. It's addressed to esteemed mortal, and I quote, "They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains of whom I have set below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis, Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it was better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need for such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it on Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time that I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, and that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or realm of fancy. Signed, the Axeman.